What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Learn English with Mike podcast. Today is Sunday, August 30th. Today's Sunday, August 30th. Wow. Boy, how the time flies. Anyway, today we are going to do a very special episode because it's a Sunday episode. All Sunday episodes are special. And because, it's been a week since I did my last podcast. So this is kind of what we're looking at here is a week of content that I'm going to go over from Instagram and YouTube and talk about some of the expressions I posted and try to give you a little more insight. Now, if you don't follow me on Instagram, the Instagram is at learn.english.expressions, and you can find videos on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Learn English with Mike. I think if you just type in youtube.com/English Suelto, that's Suelto, Suelto, like Spanish for the past participle of soltar. Suelto. It's supposed to be like free English, right? Like English Unleashed was the name originally in English. And then I decided to give it a little Spanish flair and confuse all the people who are learning English out there why I use that word. Anyway, so you can find the videos on YouTube. As I always mention, Instagram is what I usually post to most frequently. It's just a really easy way for me to put quick tips up there and share expressions quickly. Whereas YouTube, I typically only post 1 or 2 videos throughout the week. And sometimes I'll go a couple weeks without uploading anything on there. So Instagram's the best spot to find me at learn.english.expressions. So let's go ahead and dive into it here and check out some of these expressions that I've talked about this last week. The first one is a nice expression of encouragement. So that expression is hang in there. Hang in there. Hey man, I know you're going through a rough time, but hang in there. Things will get better. So hang in there is like, stay in the fight, stay strong, keep your composure. It's like, don't give up, basically. Hang in there, things will get better. So that's something we say. And on Instagram, I showed a little example of what the verb is to hang, right? Like we think of hanging when we talk about hanging our clothes up to dry or hanging our clothes in the closet. But we also use hang in a more figurative way. And in this case, it's like you're hanging on, you're holding on to something, right? You're hanging in there. You're not letting go of all hope, basically. You hang in there. So that phrase is to hang in there. And it's a nice, encouraging phrase that we use. Commonly, you might hear somebody say it when that person has lost a loved one or is dealing with some sort of loss. We'll say, hey, hang in there, things are going to get better. And I could also say it to encourage somebody in sports, hang in there, man. Come on, hang in there. You can do it. Don't give up. So it's another way of saying don't give up. And then we are going to look at another phrase that we use. This one's probably fairly obvious, but it's interesting because it uses the phrasal verb make up, which we have a lot of different meanings for. And one of them is the common phrase to make up your mind, right? So to make up your mind basically means make a decision, right? Make up your mind. Choose one thing or the other. Get your mind organized. Make up your mind. So this is a very common phrase. I wouldn't even really say it's an expression. It's more of just a phrase that we use all the time. Like, geez, I can't make up my mind. And I think, most people would probably go with a word like, I can't make a decision. If you were trying to translate it from your language, or you're speaking English as a second language and you're translating it to try and figure out how to say this phrase, you would probably translate it directly, and it'd be hard to really come up with make up your mind. But in English, we use this phrase a lot. It's one I don't even think about, as being a phrasal verb, but it is, and it's just to make a decision. But geez, I can't make up my mind. I'm terrible at making up my mind. I can either go to a party tonight, or my friends invited me to go get a drink. I just can't make up my mind. They both sound so fun. Also, if somebody is delaying something because they are indecisive, you can say, come on, just make up your mind. So you can use it in the imperative form as well as a command. Just make up your mind. I'm tired of you, dragging your feet, not making a decision. Just make up your mind and do it already. So that's a good phrasal verb that we use, and it means to make a decision, and it's a very common one. I mean, it's just something we say a lot, and we don't even think of it as like a phrase or expression. It's just, something you learn as a youngster, and you use it your whole life. All right, this next phrase here is to string someone along. So I said this is a phrasal verb because you're stringing along someone, right? It's also kind of an expression as well. But the idea here is when you string someone along, you lead that person on. You make that person believe that they are going to get something, that they are going to get a reward or something, but then you don't give it to them. You string the person along. So a common example would be like if I tell you I'm going to give you $10 for cleaning my room. And then you clean my room, and then I say, well, you didn't really do that great of a job. I need you to do a little bit better before I can give you the $10. And I never end up giving you the $10. I'm just stringing you along just so that you will continue to provide services for me. And I keep promising this $10 that never becomes a reality. So that is what it means to string somebody along. Another common example we have is in relationships, right? When maybe you're dating somebody, you could say that person maybe is stringing you along, right? That person is, we also use the phrasal verb leading you on, but that person is, maybe they want a free dinner from you or something, right? So the person acts as if they're interested, and then, you give the attention to that person that the person wants, but that person never commits to a relationship with you. That could be another example of stringing someone along, to make that person think that, there's something deeper in the relationship, or there's some sentimental value and chemistry, and then you don't ever make things official with that person, or get in an exclusive relationship with that person. So that would be an example of stringing someone along. And of course, we use the phrasal verb to lead someone on too. So friends who are giving advice to other friends about relationships might say, I think this person's just leading you on, right? This person's just trying to get you interested, but they're not really interested. There's not mutual interest there. You're being led on, or the person's stringing you along. And the visual I gave for this was something hanging on a fishing line and somebody trying to reach for it. So that's kind of the idea. I think whenever I think of stringing someone along, what comes to my mind is like, a $20 bill on a string, and somebody sees it on the ground and tries to pick it up, and you pull the string so it keeps getting further and further away from them. That's kind of the idea behind stringing someone along. Okay, this next expression also is related to dating. If you look on my Instagram profile, I have a highlight section for dating, and I share some dating phrases and also some clips from a program called Second Date Update, from a radio program called Brooke and Jeffrey in the Morning. And I share some of the phrases they use there. So that's a great way to get an idea of regular conversation, like just natural conversation people have. So this next one is a dating expression or a romantic expression. It's when sparks fly, or sparks flew, or there were sparks flying. And this is a phrase we use to talk about when two people who are interested in each other romantically, who are dating, have good chemistry together. They have romantic chemistry. We say sparks were flying, or did any sparks fly, or I think we had a few sparks flying. Like if I'm telling a story about being on a date, I might say, we got a glass of wine and sparks began to fly, and we ended up knowing the same people from elementary school. I don't know, just an example of how sparks might begin to fly. It kind of means that things are going well, right? There's a chemistry. Maybe that person has your favorite perfume, or the person's wearing your favorite cologne, or you guys have the same interest in sports teams, or same interest in traveling. So sparks are flying, right? Those are some pretty basic examples, but that's the idea behind this. Okay, another good phrasal verb here that we use is to be hooked on something. So I've been meaning to do a lesson specifically on phrasal verbs with hook, because we use hook a lot in phrasal verbs, and each one has kind of a different unique meaning. But to be hooked on something means to be addicted to something. So my example was that I am hooked on tacos al pastor, right? I am hooked on tacos. I'm addicted to them. I can't get enough of them. And if you don't know what a hook is in English, it's like the best example I can think of is from the story Peter Pan and Captain Hook, who has a hook for a hand, but a hook is something that kind of goes around and hooks in to something that grabs something, and it's a curve shaped, usually a piece of metal. I'm doing useless body language right now, trying to curve my arm around to give you a visual example, but obviously you can't see. Anyway, if you check it out on Instagram in the music highlights for August, I have a sticker of a hook there, and you can see what a hook is and what it means when you're hooked on something. It means you're addicted. And the example I had was from a song where the person says, "Got you hooked on my body." Not quite sure what song it is. I can't recall, but it says, "I got you hooked on my body, take you over and under, and twist it up like origami." Pretty graphic there, pretty, poetic, or whatever you want to call it. I think that's a Selena Gomez song, actually. So that is one you can look up if you want the example of what it means to be hooked on. In this case, she's saying you're hooked on my body, like you're addicted to my body. All right, so moving on now, I'm going to talk real quickly about some phrasal verbs and expressions in dating that I hope to cover in one of my stories on Instagram. I haven't had a chance to yet, but I think they're really good expressions. One is to hit it off with someone. So this actually could be used beyond dating and just regular relationships in your life. But to hit it off with someone means to have good chemistry. It's a little milder. It's not as intense as sparks flying, right? It just means that you had a good first impression with the person. You hit it off because maybe you had some things in common or you had a nice conversation. We really hit it off. So I could even say this about meeting somebody at a party. Just, I talked to Steve's brother and we really hit it off. He also loves to go fishing and, we talked about that for a long time. So we really hit it off. He's a language nerd and I'm a language nerd. And so we just talked about languages all night. We really hit it off. We had a good chemistry together. And then following that hit theme, we have another phrasal verb with hit, which is to hit on somebody. To hit on somebody is used a lot to talk about trying to seduce somebody. Well, it's not quite seduction. It's more to try and show your interest to somebody, right? Usually romantically. In fact, always romantically. You wouldn't hit on a friend unless you wanted to escalate the relationship to a more romantic status. But basically, you hitting on somebody is like trying to show your interest in that person or trying to flatter that person with your words. But basically, it would be like if two strangers are talking or two people who kind of know each other, acquaintances are talking, and one of them is like, hey, you should give me your number and we could go out and get a drink sometime. That would be like hitting on the person. Or, asking questions like, are you single? I was thinking maybe if you're not busy later, we could go out and do something. That would be like hitting on somebody. So it's basically kind of making an attempt to establish some sort of romantic relationship or try and get that person to go out on a date with you. We say to hit on that person. And then another common dating one that I may have already posted about, but I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. This is just kind of off the top of my head, was for something to be a turnoff. So if something turns you off or is a turnoff, it just means that you don't like it. You find it distasteful or unattractive. So I could say, like, when someone chews food with their mouth open, that's a big turnoff for me. Or if somebody starts saying rude, unpleasant things, that's always a big turnoff for me. So a turnoff is something that you find unattractive. And the opposite of that would be a turn on. And that can either be a noun, right? This is a total turn on. Or it could be a verb, this turned me on. And that would mean you found it attractive. You liked it. And it does have kind of, if you go further with it, it has a little bit more intense innuendos of, I don't even know how to explain this without being more vulgar or being a little more, using words that I don't really want to get into right now. But basically something that turns you on means like you find it attractive, you enjoy it. And we'll go ahead and leave it at that. I knew I probably should have avoided that because it's a little bit hard to explain, keeping it family friendly. All right, so moving on from turning on and turning off in terms of your tastes, we're going to go ahead and talk about a verb here that we use in English that has quite a few meanings, and it's the verb to stand something. It's really together as a phrase, but to stand, that in its most simplest I can't even talk right now. I'm all flustered from my failed attempt at explaining what a turn on and a turn off is. Anyway, so basically, to stand something is like to tolerate it, right? But in its most basic terms, the verb to stand is when you're sitting down and you get up, you are standing, right? So when you are supporting yourself with your legs, standing straight, that is standing, right? But we use this phrase to talk about tolerating something or enjoying something. And when we don't enjoy something, we say, I just can't stand it. I just can't stand this song on the radio right now. It's driving me nuts. I couldn't stand the pain. I can't stand how English words have so many different meanings. I just can't stand it. It's like I can't tolerate it. I don't enjoy it. I find it unpleasant. I can't stand it. So stand is another one that I want to do a lesson for because it has a lot of different meanings and a lot of phrasal verbs with it, but I'm going to have to do that another time. Last expression we're going to go ahead and look at is to be going through the motions. So this has different meanings based on context. It could be literal, but generally when it's used as an expression, we say I'm going through the motions when we're not really giving our full effort. I talked about another phrase on Instagram that we use that is phoning it in, right? So people say, oh, I'm just phoning it in today. I'm not really trying very hard. It's like I'm just, doing my job with a telephone and I'm not actually here because I'm not trying very hard and just phoning it in from some remote location. So just going through the motions is another example of being lazy or not putting in your full effort. The example I gave was, when you are doing your job, sometimes you might say, oh, I'm just going through the motions here. Or if you're watching a sports event, you could say, oh, this guy's just going through the motions. He's not really trying. He's just doing the standard motions that you do. You're just basically moving up there, but you're not moving with intent, purpose, moving with heart. You're not playing with heart. You're just going through the motions like you don't care or it doesn't matter if you win or lose. I found a funny sticker too that I put with this story here, and it was potatoes will potate. And that's just kind of this phrase that has transformed throughout the years that I believe originally started with haters gonna hate or haters will hate. And there's all sorts of different jokes and different transformations of this phrase. And that one was potatoes will potate, playing on the phrase couch potato, which is somebody who's like lazy, who just sits on the couch all day. We call them a couch potato. So this sticker was saying it was a picture of a potato with some arms and legs kind of flailing in the air, and the potato's upside down, and it says potatoes will potate, meaning, potatoes will be lazy. And the idea here is, when you're going through the motions, you're not making much effort. So just going through the motions, you're not giving it your best. You're just playing around or being lackadaisical or whatever. So those are the phrases and expressions from this week. I hope you enjoyed them. Hope the further explanation here was helpful and that this is something that you can take with you while you're riding the bus or driving to work or whatever, or working out or going on a walk or something. But hopefully this helps you with these phrases and, gives you more of a further idea, further understanding of how these phrases are used, what they mean, and a little bit into their origins and why they make sense, why they have become expressions. So again, you all can follow me on Instagram or YouTube or just listen to the podcast. But if you want, constant updates and little brief lessons in English, I'm always active on those social media platforms. Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions. I don't know if I have activated the voice message feature here, but you can always send me a message on Instagram or leave a comment on YouTube, and I will reply to those. I'm pretty good about that. And we will see you in the next podcast. So keep studying and keep learning and have a great week. Cheers.